If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to Fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your jiu-jitsu, judo, or MMA journey. That's Fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about RŌL TV. If you're looking to take your jiu-jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then RŌL TV has you covered. RŌLAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or a more advanced student, RŌL TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. In this conversation, Thomas's guest reflects on his journey through the world of jiu-jitsu and MMA, discussing the challenges and triumphs he has faced over the years. He emphasizes the importance of resilience, the mindset of never giving up, and the drive to create opportunities for others in the jiu-jitsu community. He shares his insights on the transition from fighting to teaching, the significance of empathy and competition, and his vision for the future of jiu-jitsu, including the creation of an invitational event that aims to elevate the sport and support athletes at all levels. Here's the RŌL Radio with a former MMA Contender, top 10 Bantamweight and Featherweight, 5th degree black belt under Pedro Sauer, owner of Team Curran, and the founder of the all-new Jeff Curran Invitational.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we're alive. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Great
How
to
are
be
you?
back. I'm good. We're not in COVID.
Before we started, we were saying this. It's been 5 years. Over. I mean, June of 2020, we have recorded, you and I, or three of us with Gary, we recorded episode number 3, right, for RŌL Radio. And it was middle of COVID. That's 5.5 years from now. It feels to me like it was literally a couple months ago. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm still like on a daily dealing with things from that time period. So it all kind of comes back really quick when you start thinking about it.
I remember, not to bring all the crazy stuff from 5 years ago, but I remember you closed your academy during that time. And now 5 years later, you operating full swing. You're doing a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool projects. Did it feel back then that this will ever come back and like resurface, or like what's your retroactive perspective on all of this?
Well, at the time, I knew I was going to get through it, but I didn't exactly know how. And I closed my gym that I had just recently opened a year and a half earlier. And then we packed everything up, put it in storage, and then operated for 7 months out of a church, just a little 20 by 30 room. And man, that was weird. It was just because I went back to laying carpet and doing flooring to make ends meet. I didn't know how long it was going to be. I knew that like whatever government help or help that we were getting was going to be minimal. But yeah, we just kind of stayed the course, and then I felt like things were opening up, and it's like time to find a smaller, more affordable location, and I did that. And now we're just we're booming. Actually, we haven't been as strong as we are now since before the recession. So we're doing great. Thank God.
I feel like there's that common thing between jiu-jitsu and even just gym owners in general. When things are going well, they are going well, but when they are not, it's then it gets rocky a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's why you have to have kind of a bulletproof plan, I guess. You have to be I know people that quit running their school altogether and said, "This is it," you know? And to me, that was never an option. I knew for myself and my staff and my students, like, how important it is. And I didn't want to revert and go back to something else full time. You know, it was one thing to do it to get by, but just that whole, I guess the bulletproof plan is that I'm not stopping at anything, even if it means get a full-time job and pay rent out of my pocket. I would have gone back to that. And I think when you have that mindset and when you run a business that you're capable of handling everything on your own, as opposed to like if I opened a restaurant and I couldn't afford a chef, like I would probably be in trouble, you know? Whereas like I'm a backup plan for everything in my school. So if things did get tight, you know, and I had to let people go, you know, I would still be able to at least navigate my own life, hopefully through it, at least on some level.
Where is this mentality of never giving up come from?
Just knowing your options and just, I've always been that way. It's kind of been put into me since I was little to like not stop towards things, which is weird because it's not like I wasn't like, I didn't have people in my life going, whatever you do, don't give up. It was never like that. It was the fear of ending up where people in my family ended up. You know, I didn't want to be poor. I didn't want to live a life that we had as a kid. Friends of the family, people in our area, in our community, and going, man, if I give up, this is where I'm going to end up, because I don't have a college education. All I have is my work ethic and a certain set of skills that allow me to teach or train people or compete or do some construction or do some flooring and whatever. So like you eliminate the things you don't want and you fight really hard for the things you do. And that's more where I'm at. When I decide someday to go take my foot off the gas as far as like my jiu-jitsu life, it's going to be a thought through decision and not forced. You know, I think that burnout is a real thing. It's a new thing among new students. It's a new thing among, it's a big thing among competitors who are not going their way. And for myself, my friend Mike Moses and I were FaceTiming yesterday as a group, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time. And I asked him how his academy's going. He's like, "Oh, Groundhog Day." You know, every day is like it's a cycle, but it's like I'd rather live through a cycle that I enjoy than, you know, live through that cycle of, you know, going and putting somebody else's floor in and, you know, dealing with a pain in the ass customer or beating my body up, you know, tearing out old carpet that's covered in dog piss or whatever the day might bring you. You know, it's like I just weigh it and go, I'm going to fight as hard as I can to keep this life.
Well, it's intriguing to listen to you because if at least perception from the outside is that your life has been a grind from the beginning, right? But even through your MMA career and all that, I mean, that's a grind. And we're not talking about what we see in MMA or UFC today, but we are talking about a couple decades ago, right? That's significantly, and then significantly has changed over time, and then you convert or migrate to jiu-jitsu and academy owner. You have all your projects, and that seems to be a grind too. Many would give up. That ever crossed your mind? Are you thinking about retirement at this point? Retirement from the retirement from the retirement?
Yeah, right. I mean, MMA is still on the back of my mind a little bit. You know, I still feel like I could fight pretty high level if I wanted to put myself through it. And I went through a stage where I was okay being retired. I still am, but I went through a stage where I was like, okay, I'm not even going to entertain it. But then this year I started talking with Anthony Pettis about fighting on his show, and he's like, let's find you a dance partner. Let's have one last dance for you, man. Like, I'm all in. And we started looking, and then his date changed, and like I was back in it looking for a fight. There's some things in my life, like I want my kids, they never got to watch me fight live. They never got to see me go through that, they can remember because they were little, see me go through that process of, transforming myself into my peak shape so I can go compete at that level. And I want to show them that, I feel like they're so ingrained in jiu-jitsu and they train all the time with me that that's an element, that like a memory I would like them to be able to have about me, but one's in college, one's in high school. My wife's a teacher. Anthony shows her on Sundays. It was going to work out in Milwaukee, but it changed to like Richmond or somewhere else, and it wasn't going to work out. We're like, maybe I could have fought, but they wouldn't have been able to come. It was
Well,
like,
but let me ask you this. I mean, you're what, 48 or 40 or somewhere there, right? Yeah, you're my age. I mean, thinking about that step, that's a big decision. Like you don't have to do this. You're successful.
mhm.
You have many projects that you're doing, and we'll talk about the big one that you're getting off the ground right now. But like, why even put yourself in that position? Is that something internal?
It must be. I don't know, man. I think about it. I think every time I watch fights, I'm measuring up guys. I'm going, I wonder how that guy, and you put yourself. Look, part of it is like, I know that the one thing we can't all avoid is getting older. But the further you get from your prime, and I get to a point where I know at some point there's literally no turning back. I start going, but maybe I could still just once more do it. And why? I just miss the process. I miss the training. I don't miss the injuries. I don't miss certain things. Like I really don't miss sparring. I don't miss having headaches. I don't miss long runs. I just kind of I miss hitting pads. I miss, grappling with that intent. And I miss the pressure that you get on where you go, I want to see if my jiu-jitsu could still protect me in today's MMA world. That's kind of where I feel like I'm at. And
Can it? Do you feel you can hang?
I think that my jiu-jitsu is better now than it ever was in my career. I wish I could go back in time with my knowledge now and my patience from certain positions. And I have some strong go-tos. I watch old fights of mine and I remember where I was going, I was really good with these certain things at that time, but like, God, if I had what I have now, then I could have done so much better. But I don't know if that'll actually happen. Those are like, they're still kind of dreams of mine, but also because of all my other areas of focus, it's definitely forced to the back, and it never really seems to line up. So I talk about it more than I act on it, because at the end of the day, I don't want to go through the holidays on a diet. I don't want to, miss whatever it might be, a big wedding or something on a diet. I don't want to be like in the middle of my son's wrestling season and have to be doing all this training and not be able to make a meet, and just whatever the case might be. I start weighing it like that. And that's when I know it's probably best that I don't, fight again, but it doesn't mean that it's not still there lingering.
Do you feel like that hunger, that thirst for fighting and that competition gives you the drive for everything that you do today? Even though you are unable to do it or choose not to do it?
It's a transfer of energy. My energy used to go to all of that. And although I retired, I think 9 years ago, 8.5 years ago, somewhere around, actually 9 years ago. So I fought for just over 19 years. So I retired, I think like November of 2016 when I fought Rafael Stotts. And it took me a long time a long time to kind of accept that, but then I got comfortable with it. I said, okay. And then, then COVID hit. I did 3 fight to wins. So I did all 3 of my matches in fight to win were gi matches. And starting with Kyotera. And then I went, this guy, Gerson, out in Arizona, I think, Atoige, I think this is how you pronounce it. Atoige is how you pronounce his last name. And he decisioned to me. And then I fought in 2019, end of 2019, I think, against Steve Kinnison. And that was my last fight to win. And then COVID happened. Well, after that, when I was feeling like, okay, I think I can get into the competitive spirit of doing jiu-jitsu more, and I'll, do the pans and the worlds, and those will be my tournaments that I do. Maybe I'll do the no-gi pans, no-gi worlds, and then I'll do some super fights, and I'll be in a rhythm. And then COVID hit, and, I kind of got depressed, and I put on weight, and it just overworked, I was working 20-hour days, and the days that I wasn't working, I was home working on the computer. And we all, like a lot of people in the COVID world, like I was drinking a lot and eating what I wanted, and we were binge watching shows, and like it was fun for a while. It was like, oh, this is a much needed break, kind of. Nothing we could do about it. Then I said, it's time I start filming videos, and I start rolling a couple times a week. And then I had to rebuild the gym, and the whole system just took me out of the whole process took me away from my normal schedule. And then just life happened, and I kind of now I'm like used to being a little heavier than I need to be, and I didn't feel like going through what it was going to take to get competition ready until I think August of 2023. I decided I was going to go do the worlds, the Master Worlds. And that was one of these things where I was like, okay, the jiu-jitsu, my fire to compete in jiu-jitsu doesn't burn like MMA. I don't know if it's the fear of getting hurt or that ladder you're climbing in MMA for opportunity to make a living and whatnot. That was like so much pressure. But I don't have that feeling with jiu-jitsu. With jiu-jitsu, I feel like I'm always fighting myself. Like we already know jiu-jitsu works, and now it's just jiu-jitsu versus jiu-jitsu, and I love it, but I also can't get super into it like on a regular. I have to really like the matchup. I have to really feel like it's something that's going to get me going. So I decided to enter the worlds just to cut weight, like if I get into the bracket, like speaking of Mark Vivas, I think you just had him on. I called Mark. I said, hey man, like I'm going to try to do lightweight, but I might have to do middleweight. I don't know if I'm going to make weight. I'm totally out of shape. Do you mind us getting together and training? And I had never trained with him. We've been slated to compete against each other a number of times. I said, I'll come to you. I just once a week would like to train hard with you and see if you feel like I can hold my own as is, because I only got 5 weeks to get this weight off. And it was scare me straight, get me in line. So we rolled in our first day, and I said, what do you think? And he's just like, man, you're as strong as any middleweight I've ever faced, and your jiu-jitsu's, perfect. So I just think it's just a matter of having the strategy for the right guys. And I didn't make lightweight. I had to do middleweight. But I remember, bro, I went to Vegas by myself, no entourage, no team, no coach, just by myself. I had a couple friends there that I got to run into. But again, it was to cut weight, is to get back in shape and try to find my old self. And there was something not fun about that, because I was just doing it to get myself down in weight. And I was going a few days out from the show, and I'm in Vegas acclimating just a little bit. And I got there and settled in, and I went for a long run one night. It was I'd probably run 4 miles or something like that. And as I was running, I was thinking to myself, you're not just here to cut weight. You're here to win. Get your mind on. And I kind of shifted gears, and I went and got really excited about the tournament. And I started just in my head, I was obsessing about competing again, and I did well. Actually, Mark had a bye, but we had the same record in the same bracket. He was opposite side. He was 3-1, and I was 3-1. So technically, I got fourth, and he tied for third because he had the bye. But we never faced each other. But I won my first three, and then I lost my fourth match 2-0. And I felt like, okay, now I'm missing competing, but I screwed up my hand really bad in the match, and I didn't notice it till I was flying home. So I took a couple weeks off, and then I went on a seminar tour, which I do a lot. I do these like big loops around the East Coast and up and back. And like my second or third one, I was getting like swept, and so I jumped over, and then my bad toe like hit the wall, and I busted my knuckle on my toe again. So now I could barely train or barely even walk for that matter. And then I heard it 2 more times over the course of the next like 6 months, and it never healed. I had to see a specialist, and then eventually I got a couple cortisone shots, and they basically said I couldn't do anything for it. So I just ended up in this funk again, where it's like, God dang it. I was finally feeling it, And anyways, I started getting comfortable again and just telling myself, like, you built this life, now just enjoy it, right? Your academy is successful. You're making money doing seminars. You're training a lot. It doesn't have to be killer training. Let's just pace. And now,
Look, as I'm listening to you, I'm listening to you, I mean, this is fascinating to me for many reasons, but more importantly,
it's the coffee.
There is these. I wish I had some coffee. I didn't get it before we got on. But as you tell the story, there's these hills and valleys all throughout. There is a moments where you feel good, you're on a high, things are going well, and then it goes down, and you describe it as depression. You describe you're down. Things are not going, and then somehow you dig and you find a motivation to get back up, and it goes up. And then again, you ride the wave, and then something happens and goes down. In many cases, students that you have, or I have, or many others out there, thousands out there, they would never get back up. They would go into the valley, and they would not be able to or capable of digging deep to find motivation to do what they ultimately love or want to do, or go above and beyond, or just simply get out of the funk. So, like, how do you do it? How do you find that dig, that grit, that how do you push when just shit ain't pretty?
Right. Well, for clarity, like I think that there obviously is very many different levels of like depression. I feel like I still deep down deal with feeling like I didn't accomplish what I set out to do in the professional fighting world.
Wait. Hold on a minute. What? Jeff, come on now.
Well, I'm saying that's like an underlying thing for me. Like 3 fights in the UFC, and I have no wins in the UFC, which is hard to accept when I was the fighter that I was. I was a very decorated featherweight and bantamweight for the better part of my career. And so to get to the UFC, and have like a match that doesn't go my way against like Scott Jorgensen or this guy Johnny Eduardo, and I'm just like, what are you doing? So yeah, I mean, I want to say, like, I know that I have a lot to be proud of for my career as a fighter. I'm not what's the word for that? I know that, like, but I also think that part of what makes me keep the grind going is like the fear of failure, and I take a lot of pride in what I do. I don't want to be somebody that was just somebody that fought. I wanted to be somebody that fought and made really big examples for people. I tell this story a lot, like when I fought Uriah and I got guillotined. by him is the only time I've been submitted in a fight. And I thought that might have came from one of the undefeated black belts I faced in my lifetime, you know. Instead, I beat every single one. I think I fought 5 different undefeated black belts and other black belts as well, but 5 of them were undefeated, and they didn't submit me. So why Uriah? Why the guy that didn't have like a jiu-jitsu rank? But I went from there. It's like, okay, I can accept it now, but then it was difficult because sometime a week or 2 after that fight, I'm teaching class and I'm teaching guillotine defense. And then it's like, you're on stage and you're basically telling everybody, hey, you're going to get caught if you do this, and this, here's how you get out, here's how you survive. And then you think like everybody in the room's looking at you. It's like an insecurity where you think everybody's judging you and thinking like, well, you feel their eyes kind of burning through you. Even if they're not judging you, you feel that way. So it's the fear of like, then you go, okay, just get over it. You run a jiu-jitsu school, you have to teach it, and they need to accept that I'm out there putting it on the line. I might not always be successful, but I'll learn from my failures and I'll bring it back to the table. And maybe they won't have to be the one getting caught in a guillotine someday because I took that route to get that experience, you know? But ultimately,
was that one of the harder lessons from a fighting that you learned with Uriah?
It was the worst. I was like on a spiral downward because everybody in my life, my manager and my wife and, you know, students and friends, they're just like, man, like you remember like you got beat in a world title fight. You know, it's like you're up here losing. You're not losing down here. And I was like, yeah, but I was up there to win. I wasn't up there to lose. And when you're walking on the ground and you slip and fall, it's a little bit easier of a get up than when you're on the top of a roof and you fall, you know? When you fall from a higher place, it hurts more. And that's what that was. It was just like, how do I rebound from this? You just fought in a world title fight against the best featherweight in the world. I have to fight somebody as comparable as possible or I won't get respect again. So rather than take an easier match, I pushed for Mike Brown, who was a lightweight champion in Bodog when he came over to the WEC. And then I just, you know, I watched that fight go, God, Jeff, you should have just kept it standing. You know, I was winning the stand-up fight and I took a stupid shot on him and, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But then it's like, okay, now I lost to Mike. I really got to prove it. I'm going to drop weight. And I fought a co-main event against Joseph Benavidez. And I thought, oh, I could beat him. And I like got dropped, but it was more of like a stuck on my heels. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to lose this just because that one little shot and a couple takedowns. And so I lose that fight in Chicago. I'm sure you remember that. And then I lose that fight to Mizugaki. And that's like, now I'm on a 4-fight losing streak in the WEC going, how did I get here? And part of that is I should have regrouped after Uriah. Instead, I kept pushing for the best guy. So that's where I kind of self-destructed. And obviously with each loss, I got further in my own head and further down this, like, I don't know if I was depressed at the time as much as I was just like mad. I was kind of mad, you know, I was mad at myself and I was just upset with things. And, yeah, it's weird times.
At which point you make a decision to focus on purely jiu-jitsu, purely on your students?
After COVID, you know, I had Felice Herrig in the UFC. She had maybe 1 or 2 more fights that she wanted to do at the most. And prior to COVID, she was getting ready for a match and she tore her ACL. So we were a couple months into that camp when that happened. And then a couple months after that surgery, we had COVID. So I was like, okay, I don't know how her comeback is going to be. Joey Deal didn't really have interest in fighting anymore. He wanted to just kind of focus on jiu-jitsu. Corey Galloway moved to Colorado with his girlfriend. I kicked a couple fighters out, and I had a couple amateurs who hadn't fought yet, but now it was COVID and there was no shows, right? So no one was going to, rebuilding was going to be very hard. And I thought to myself, if I'm ever going to get away from this MMA world, that's like, it just owned me. It owned me as a coach. It owned me as a fighter. It owned my time, you know, and it stressed me out, and I didn't sleep well. And I felt everyone's loss. You know, when you're a coach, you feel everybody's pain. And I felt the responsibility of so many people's careers that I just thought this is my time to go 100% focused on jiu-jitsu where I belong. And that was when I reopened in February, my new academy that I'm in now, February 4th or something like that of 2021. And that was when I was like, okay, we're jiu-jitsu all the way. And now I have a recreational Thai boxing classes a couple days a week, but I don't teach them.
Do you go through these decisions by yourself? I mean, is there like Jeff sitting down with some kind of logic going through his mind and making these? I mean, these are all heavy decisions, including processing what has occurred. Or how is that unfold inside?
I repeat myself a lot, you know. Sarah, my
Do you
wife.
talk to yourself?
Well, no, I talk to Sarah, or I talk to students or friends, and you know, I call people and we just like loop, and like I can tell they're probably getting sick of listening to it, but that's my process, you know, to see kind of feedback. What does everybody think? Even though I kind of already knew the answer. Then I just said, where do I want to be in 10 years? I don't want to be coaching people. I don't want to be in the corner. I don't want to be the water boy for some guy who's going to quit if he loses a fight, or point the finger at me if he doesn't do well. You know, I just kind of decided this is the time. This is the time for me. Because the other thing that it was, I had a lot of demand for me for many years for seminars. And I would turn them down or I would book a seminar, and then one of my fighters would get a fight on the same weekend, and then I'd have to cancel the seminar. And then eventually they don't call back. So I told myself, like, you know, every weekend you're going and making no money coaching somebody unless they're on a big show, but I didn't have anybody on the big shows that were active. So it was all just costing me money to coach, you know, and costing me time away from my family and time away from my students. So I just made the decision. I'm going to go 100% all in and make a jiu-jitsu environment. And those that want to compete, will help them get ready to compete. And those who just want to have lifestyle, that's going to be the push for the academy. And I'm going to quit trying to win as many team trophies as possible. I'd rather just have quality over quantity and have a more comfortable life.
One of the projects that you've been doing for years is the retreat. And I remember that, I mean, years ago when I was very small, at this point is huge.
Yeah.
Was that the goal all along, or is this one of those things that kind of evolved on its own with the passion that you are describing and focusing on students?
Every year it got bigger. So I started thinking like, well, what's the limit? Like, then I maxed out the room I'm in for the last 6 years. And it's like, I don't want to leave that place. So I can't try to go bigger, because then I double, triple everything. And, you know, if the cap is 200 people and I'm not going to, you know, then I'm going to start losing money. So I invested a lot into my retreat. You know, I've gone through 2 trailers. Got 3,000 square feet of mats, but my initial mats I bought was about 2,500. I ended up selling those for half of what I paid and buying new ones that were more lightweight and easier to transport. I've bought surfboards, and I bought canopies, and I bought coolers, and I bought all the things you need for like a beach party and just stuff like that. So I've invested a lot. So it's like, okay, it'd be really nice to hit this number so I can get my money back. And then the next year rolls around, I reinvest more, and then I bring more people, I pay more people more money, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh God. So I just keep reinvesting. So the goal was never to just be as big as possible. The goal was like, okay, if we're going to keep this way of life where everybody can benefit from it, we have to be at these numbers. If it's going to be 100 people, then me and a couple volunteers were teaching classes. I used to run all the classes myself. Now I got Pedro Sauer coming. I got, which is an honor to have my professor coming to my camp and teaching a bunch of his black belts that are great friends of mine. And this one, I got Ricardo Laborio coming to teach a session. So, I think his academy is only like 30, 40 minutes away. So he's all in. And that's just a big treat for the guests, because typically all these years, I don't even advertise the staff. I just, until it's sold out. I never wrote it out, built it on somebody's name other than the event itself. I really didn't even build it on my own name. It's people would ask me, yo, you going to Big Frog? Like, yeah, I think so. You gonna
Surprise.
go to Big Frog this year? Like, yeah, that's. Oh yeah, I forgot it's your nickname.
Do you feel like that's a point of success for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 years ago on a Sunday at the end of the retreat. I remember it was our biggest one yet, and Sundays are usually the lighter day. People start going home when they do a session or two and bail, or they leave Sunday morning because they got to work. But you go from 200 plus people down to maybe 100, 125, and it seems like scarce compared to what the weekend was. But that's actually one of some of the best sessions, when some of the magic happens. But afterwards, I got done and I just told everybody, hey guys, but we're going to have open mat as long as you guys want. But if we do get it to where it's starting to trickle down, let's work this way so we can start breaking down the mats, because the sooner the mats get broken down, we can wrap this up. And then I said, not many things that I've done in this business, be it my academy or fighting, has been given me the financial gain that I was hoping for over the years. So thank you guys for supporting my retreat, because the money from this has truly changed mine and my family's life. And I'm grateful for that. With my kids getting ready to go to college, and like Ty's in college now, Jacob will be going to college. He's going to be a senior next year. So I got another 2 years for him, year and a half, but still it comes quick. And when, I'm living on a small salary from my gym and hoping for seminars, it's hard to budget 2 kids going to university. So yeah, it's life-changing money to be able to like give ourselves, an extra $10,000 or $20,000, once a year or something like that, and just go, okay, a little breathing room. So, yeah.
Are you ready for that, by the way? For both of your boys being gone out of the house?
No, I'm not. Ty's gone, but he's coming home every weekend. Usually comes home Thursday nights and surprises us, or comes home Friday. He likes to get groceries. He likes to do his laundry. He likes to hang out. He comes and trains usually like Friday at noon, and then Saturday at noon he trains with me. And then Mondays and Wednesdays he trains at college. Thankfully he's only in Whitewater, so he can drive home. But it's so weird because Jacob is driving too, and he's got friends, and he's out when he's not training jiu-jitsu, he's out with his friends, and we're just kind of sitting around like dum-da-dum,
That's why I ask, are you ready for this? That this is coming down the pipe faster than you think.
Yeah, it's tough. I know it's tough on Sarah for her own reasons, but for me, it's tough because for years especially since they hit their teens and they really fell in love with jiu-jitsu, and it wasn't something they went to once or twice a week. They're on the mat with me all the time. So now when it's like wrestling season coming up, I won't have Jacob on the mat. I won't have Ty on the mat. And it's just weird. They're my fixtures that are always there. So yeah, it's an adjustment, but I'm getting through it. No problem. Really. It was emotional at first. We had a couple sad weekends. Then we realized,
sure.
okay, he's not distancing himself from us. He misses us too.
I'm sure that's big milestones in life, right? Big milestones. So now you started this brand new thing, which brings us the main reason why we are here today and really talk about these things. I have a lot of questions and I'm curious about this. Why put up a invitational event to compete in jiu-jitsu? Why is that on your mind?
I feel like I have a lot of experience from promoting XFO for all those years, promoting MMA, and from being in so many shows. I mean, I probably cornered over 1,000 fights. And I've been in 100 of my own. So it's like the experience of a show chiseled into something for a grappler where, their life isn't going to be over if they lose a fight. They're not going to, maybe they might get injured, but you might not get knocked out, and you're not going to get knocked out, and you're not going to screw your whole career up forever. Jiu-jitsu is very forgiving. If you lose, you just go to the next one, and it's just a fun thing. So I was talking about it off and on for years, and my son Ty was just like, "Dad, you got to do it." I quit talking about it, and then he kept asking, like, they're both like, "Why aren't you doing it?" I'm like, "Guys, you don't understand. Like, there's a lot of work. Like, how much work can go into it? You just get people and sell tickets." And like, okay. So when they walked in and they saw like my staging and the lighting going up, they're like, "What the heck, Dad?" Like,
So they didn't know that was happening?
they knew. Like, I told them, I'm renting lights, and it's like, I think it's like you can even see a picture of it. Like, I did an AI like rendering and saying, "This is about what I'm trying to do." Like when I fought in Fight to Win, like Seth does great with Fight to Win, and he's got staff, but he's announcing and he's doing lighting and he's doing the whole thing. He's on like 300 or something like that. And, he's a whole other animal. He's every weekend all over the country. And I don't know if that's my objective. So when I decided to go, okay, I'm going to do it. What is going to be different about my event than everybody else? Because I don't want to diss everybody's events. I love Fight to Win. I love EBI. I love ADCC. I love a lot of the matches on CJI, but I don't like the antics and the marketing approach to that. I think it's a bad look for jiu-jitsu, regardless of how many eyes are now on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you saw the last one, but
I did.
It's just like, it's not me, and I'm not like, well, we all know Craig Jones is a badass. It's just some unnecessary thing. I don't want that to be my way to the top with the show. So, I just thought, what could I do? What could I bring differently? Well, I'm not going to make it a corporate machine. I'm not going to take on investors and partners that have bigger agendas and they really want to watch that bottom line and get their money back someday, or they just have, fuck you money that they can throw around and be a part of the show, and hey, look at who I am. I'm involved. And ADCC, no one's touching them. They're doing their thing and it's reputable. And I like what they're doing with that. The only thing is, all of that aside, with ADCC, competitors pay year round for 2 years to compete, to build seating and possibly qualify. So they're spending money for 2 years Then you go, if you win and you make it to if you qualify and make it into the tournament, you now got to win 4 matches to get the grand prize, right? So although that's a huge feather in your cap, it's a financial drain if you don't win. Now, if you do well, if you place maybe first, second, third, you make a little bit of money, you get a little bit of notoriety out of it. But if you lose, you're also a guy who lost in ADCC, and you didn't win. So
it's heavy either way. Yeah,
it's heavy. It's heavy. And I'm not saying you don't take those chances. I'm saying, like, wouldn't it be nice? My mindset going in, wouldn't it be nice if you're a competitor like that to be able to get used to the lights, get used to the big show and the pressure of an individual matchup, very similar to an MMA fight where you know who you're fighting and there's a build up, and you can make money year round rather than spend money. So that's kind of my thought. That was kind of my thought, is like, when I was younger, I couldn't do certain tournaments because I was completely broke. I couldn't go out west. I couldn't fly to Brazil for the Worlds. I had it was a catch-22. If I was working, doing flooring, I had money, but I wasn't in shape to compete. And I couldn't take off work to go compete, or I'd lose jobs. If I wasn't working, I was training my ass off, but I had no money. So, and then the other side of it is, like, you go, well, let's say you do a Grappling Industries, or you do a Naga, or you do a Fuji, or you even do the IBJJF Opens or something. You pay a big fee, you go compete, maybe you win a medal, maybe you don't, but you're out the money, and you're out, you have to fight multiple matches usually for that. And there's 10 matches, 12 matches going on at a time all day long, and you're just a part of this. This gives us a chance to showcase it in front of fans that maybe haven't, like, if you want it to be a spectator sport, you want to get people to come see it because they think jiu-jitsu is fun to watch, and they're being educated along the way, and they're not just like, they're just showing up to watch their buddy compete. But I know so many people went to my show. They're like, dude, I'm coming to the next one. Even if such and such doesn't compete, I'm sold. I loved watching that. And some of them are people that have known about me doing jiu-jitsu for years, but never saw it live. And they got to see it, like, wow, this is actually really cool. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons as to why.
Well, but let me ask you this. I mean, this all sounds beautiful. Like, I agree with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But how come you're the first one who's doing this? I mean, this is not like rocket science.
I don't know if I'm I don't think I'm the first one to do it. Obviously, you've got, like I said, all those shows I named, and then you got like shows like Polaris and stuff. Fury, man, a lot of them.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. Some have done it to a certain extent, and they all vary between rule sets to the way how it's being marketed and the message behind it. But I think it's important to acknowledge the big ones. They are kind of folding here. There's only a handful ones that, like, who's number one is probably the one that kind of carried down for a number of years, right? But there's not many of them that sustain for extensive period of time.
For the amount of grapplers that there are, Fight Pass Invitational, now UFC BJJ. So, like, you've got a place for everybody that are big names and already at the top. They're going to be getting all the opportunities. They're going to be the A side of the card on all these big shows, and then they're going to fill it with other A-listers that they can try to see who's the best one, and sell it that it makes sense. But what about all the unknown talent that, like, you get to the third or fourth round of the ADCC trials, but you don't qualify, and then you got to go back and do it all year long, and for another opportunity. Man, that's already, some of these guys they're cream of the crop. They're just unknown. And then is your goal
Is your goal to expose the underlining layer of the skill essentially within grappling and jiu-jitsu versus exposing or give more promotion to the best of the best?
I want to do both. I want to be able to build people up and then bring in the best for for them to validate. Because if they're validating themselves along the way like that, and then I got a couple guys, like I got this guy Vince Barber. He fought in my first show. I think he's a brown belt, young kid. He has got a lot of potential. He's gonna tear it up at the big show, but so like a guy like him, I think his path might already be set that way. He's already, before I knew him or before he was managed by my manager's company, like he was already on this path, because that was his goal. Same thing with like Kyle Perkins and Joey Deal, and some of the guys that are training out of there. Like they're headed, they're trying to get to where they want to be, regardless of whether I have a show or not. But where I can come in is I can really tell their story and I can highlight them and I can give them a chance to get those big moments, make money, fight locally, and then, okay, Joey, you're the champion. Now let's get another champion from another organization or another contender that's well known in the jiu-jitsu community, and you can get your big fight on my show, because if that guy is a champion somewhere else, they're probably not going to call Joey to take the match. You know what I mean? Like I'm just picking up a hypothetical.
Yeah.
So like I did with the XFO, I helped build people up. I helped get a lot of people, whether they were my fighters or other teams, opportunities that changed the course of their life. And the other side of it is my tagline is athletes first, always. And it's an organization ran by an athlete for they are priority above all things. I'm never going to make, my whole goal with every person on my card is for them to leave happy and to go, man, I love fighting for Jeff. Like I love showing up, the way he took care of us. I think anybody putting it on the line deserves to be, if at the very least treated that way. Not that other organizations aren't doing that, but I can guarantee that because of who I am and my personality and my experience. The other side with that is there's a whole level of people that aren't going to go to tournaments all the time. They're never going to be on these big shows. They're super talented. They're hobbyists. This is a chance for them to feel those moments and get in a big match in front of a bunch of people, get eyes on them around the world and be validated. They, rather than like, oh, if you didn't get through all these things, you don't deserve that kind of shot. Like, yeah, you do. Maybe you just train every single day of your life and you don't compete anywhere. And now you decide, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. And you fall in love with it. And doing a few matches a year works better for you than a tournament that you have to like prepare for all the time and go through the grind. I'm kind of rambling, but there's just so many.
No, I think this is very fascinating to me, because I think you're right. There's a lot of organizations who focus on a monetary compensation or some kind of monetary benefit. And I think what I hear from you really repeating over and over and over is like this level of empathy towards the people who maybe didn't have opportunities. Maybe people who, for whatever reason, they don't get the exposure. And that's very different.
Well, boxing is very crooked, right? And MMA is not far behind. In boxing right now, my manager, Monty Cox, he's a boxing promoter, and he basically manages in boxing. It's called, you're signed with a promoter and they build you and they sell you to other promoters. Right now, you have to basically buy your fight. You have to go to these shows and say, hey, I got $3,500. Get me an opponent and I'll try to sell tickets to make my money back. otherwise they're like, well, then we're not going to have you fight. Or you can go fight a guy who's going to kill you and we'll pay you a couple grand or you'll make whatever. But boxing is just a very like, it's a shitty sport when it comes to that. You have to like win the Olympics or become like 15-0 to start making any real money. And to get to either one of those is very, very hard. And MMA is difficult because MMA, you got coaches and or people with money putting on shows. They either don't want the local to lose or they don't want their own person to lose. So they build people and they pad fights and they make easy records, and then they try to sell them off and get them into a bigger show and make money on them there. I don't want jiu-jitsu to become like that. I don't want professional jiu-jitsu to become crooked. I'm not saying it is. I don't even know of a solid example where it's happening, but if there's not people in it for the right reasons, it will get there at some point. So the more of people that can go out and go, man, I like what Jeff's doing. And I know I met some guys that fought on my show that have their own show. They do their own little, promotion and whatever. And like, we hope to be at this someday. It's crazy you're doing this on your very first show. I'm like, I just know it can be successful and I want to elevate the sport. And I can't elevate the sport if I just put on super fights in my gym with some bright lights in the background. And you know what I'm saying? We have to elevate it and we have to put it up there big. And I'm going to use every channel I got to let the world know so they tune in and watch these guys compete live.
It's fascinating to listen to you speak with so much passion about all of this. Have you envisioned what this might look like when you were competing in MMA like 20, 30 years ago? Let me rephrase this. You back in the day in the Hammock Civic Center in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that show arguably was one of the biggest things locally, right? And it's nothing comparing to what you are putting up. It's like, how you process that information?
Well, you had like the Ironheart Crown.
Yes, you did. Yeah, Eric Moon. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And you had, I think C3 was it? Braulio's
C3. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Super Brawl and Extreme Challenge teamed up and and did a Super Brawl for the one and only time off the island from Hawaii to here in a cage. Usually it was in a ring. And I fought for a 145-pound Super Brawl title against Luke Spencer. And like those, and I think Miguel fought, like every night that we fought at the Civic Center was just like packed. But no one ever saw it. If you weren't there, you never got to see it.
No, people don't even know what it is. Yeah, absolutely.
It never went anywhere. Everybody might have their own bootlegged footage of their match, but like nobody got to. I mean, they remember that show Ultimate Athlete.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I fought some Canadian guy and who thought he was going to kill me, but it was a good production. There was lights and smoke and this whole thing, but no one got to see it. So I want my crowd to be big, but I also want the world to see it. And then I'll hopefully gain quality sponsorship support like I have right now. That will grow. And, I think like the first show that I put on, I have a group text with all the athletes from JCI 1. And I communicated with them along the way. And I said, hey, everybody, if you need me for anything, reply individually. I'll be right there to answer your question. If it's something you think the whole group can benefit from, please feel free to ask it here and I'll share my answer. This is where I'm going to communicate to you guys between now and the show. So that was kind of the start. When I was done, I went on and I thanked everybody. I went on and I said, here's our numbers. Here's where we are at with viewership. Here's where we're at with ticket sales. And here's how much money I lost. That said, there will be a JCI 2. I'm going to keep reinvesting and I'm going to keep you guys posted along the way. Like I want everybody I want to have full transparency that people aren't going, man, because people can see the lights and they can see the whole thing and they even see the sponsors and then they make up the numbers in their head, Yeah. And it's like, I wrote some of the fighters that sold tickets $2,000-$3,000 checks, and it's like,
Do you feel like this is easier to do than it was 20 years ago when you were fighting at any of the local events that were not publicized as much?
yeah, because we can stream it. People can see it. We can use social media to show it off every day. And
But at the same time, well, let me throw this in there. But at the same time, your production is tenfold bigger than what it was before.
Yeah.
So the cost is increasing even though you have more exposure, right?
See, when we had the Fight Pass deal, we got a Fight Pass deal for the XFO back in the early days of Fight Pass. And I think they gave us like a $20,000, maybe $15,000 a show budget, but they had a laundry list of what we needed. All that money was ate up into production. We did one big show. We paid everybody out. Everybody got paid. We didn't do well. The next show came around. I was starting to step back. They paid the Fight Pass paid the money. There was no lights. It was a cheaper production. My partners, that they didn't want to keep spending the money on all the lights. They wanted to spend the money on themselves, or like live off. We had to live off of it, and they had to live off of it. So decisions started getting made to like not use the money for what it was intended for. I tried to get on Flow Grappling, and they were offering me some low number for like a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal. And I'm like, no, because I'm going to blow it hard out, or I'm going to blow it out of the gate right away, blow it up right out of the gate. And show to show, I don't want to have to be renegotiating, and already, like, if I took their money, I would still be about $15,000 short for my production cost. So I told myself, it's rather than be strapped to Flow, even though it would have been, I think fighters at the time would have felt like, oh, cool, we're going to be on Flow. Well, just because you're on Flow doesn't mean you're going to get the viewership. And Flow's link jams up a lot. We had 0 glitches on our show all night long for 5 hours straight. Not one glitch. We had a huge Ethernet cable that ran 300 feet right from the router right to our panel, up through the ceiling, down. And thankfully, not a single glitch. And man, I'm bringing in good commentators. Christian Reynoso, Jessica Penne, Ray Flores he's a world famous announcer these days. He's done Showtime Boxing and ONE FC and all the big ones. And now I'm talking to TJ DeSantis to see if I can get him into the mix. He wants in. So and he's so I want to have everybody that competes there that might not ever get a shot to fight on WNO, might not ever get a shot to go to ADCC and fight in the finals, not going to ever get a shot to go to a UFC and feel what it's like to be in the back room waiting for your moment to be announced in front of all these people. And I can provide that. And that to me is the motivation that some people need to go, man, I love that. And they can bring that energy back to their academy, and they can bring it into their life. And I can sit back and feel fulfilled that I'm giving something back to jiu-jitsu in that way. And hopefully it works out for me in the long run financially, because this can't just be a passion project that I am a philanthropist for. Be nice to make some of the money too.
Some money on it, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean.
So what's the goal behind this? What's the long-term vision? Look out 5 years from now, or even more. Where are you going with this, Jeff?
Just consistency for now. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I want to be consistent. I want to be as loyal as I can to people that are pulling through for me and putting on good performances. And I got some white and blue belts that don't really compete much and are still paying their way to compete, and they get to go home, with a couple $100 in their pocket or something like that. Like, that's a huge win for them. I'm trying to not I'm trying to be very upfront with everybody. Like, hey, no one's getting rich off of this. This is about us kind of being on a mission together. And I'm going to do my best to make sure everybody goes home with some money. I'm going to also do some submission of the night bonuses. I'm going to do a match of the night bonus that'll go to each athlete. I'm working on some perks from some sponsorships for some of our main events. Man, I got everybody a gift. I got to show it to you. I got to get up here and I'll bring it back. I'm just proud of it, man. Like stuff like this to commemorate everybody that competed.
See, this is sick. This is awesome.
You know, a little quote from me. And because I always say passion, persistence, perfection. So I got everybody one of these acrylic awards that competed on JCI 1 to remember, you know, to commemorate kind of the deal. And they get the nice medals and stuff like that. But, bro, you know, I could talk about it forever, but I really feel like the goal is to elevate people. I want to tell people stories about jiu-jitsu, about what it's done for them beyond my show. So I'm starting this like reality, like mini docu-series that I'm going to hopefully release 1 or 2 a month. I'm going to get 3 in the pipeline in November, and then starting January, and I'll keep continuing regularly throughout. Starting in January, we'll release 1 or 2 per month. And it's going to be me on the road visiting everybody's academies, and training with them and getting some food with them, hearing from some of the people in their lives about, you know, what jiu-jitsu's done for them in their life, what their day is like, learn a little bit about behind the scenes, and not necessarily a countdown show. I'm not tying it to any specific match. Those promos will be separately. These are just fun YouTube, kind of like we're kind of using the Anthony Bourdain parts unknown concept where like, you know, hey, I'm out here in Bay City, Michigan with Vince Barber, you know, and let's go see what Vince is up to and go in, see where he trains, watch him teach a class, interview him and his dad and maybe his mom or whoever else is in his life. And then maybe he kicks my ass. I'm going to go roll with people on the road and just try to have fun with it. I got 3 scheduled to film right now throughout the course of a seminar tour. So that keeps me honest, where I get to kind of be in front of a new audience and I get to train, and then I get to maybe trickle in a little bit of my philosophy about jiu-jitsu along the way as well. It's kind of like a walking podcast, you know, like
I
a
love
moving
it.
podcast.
When is this coming out? What's the target date for this?
My first
wait
one
to
will
see
be
this.
released in January.
Awesome. And where's this going to be? Your YouTube?
This will be on the Jeff Curran Invitational YouTube channel. I'm
Sweet.
calling it JCI Revealed.
Nice. Sweet. I
Yeah.
can't wait for this. This is going to be
I hope it works,
interesting
man.
behind the scenes, right?
I hope we don't tank it. But like, dude, I'm not just featuring the best champions of the, you know, and like I got 2 guys that I'm doing stories on that didn't win at JCI 1, and they're hobbyists, but jiu-jitsu has greatly impacted their lives for the better, both in such different ways that I want the world to hear their story. And they also
oftentimes, at least from the 5 years that I've been doing these conversations, often the stories that we don't anticipate are the best ones.
Yep. And honestly, somebody like one of the guys I'm interviewing and doing this story for, I don't want to give away his name right now, but like he might kill it, and other people might go, man, I like that guy. I want to get him on my podcast. He doesn't have to be a world champion or a retired MMA fighter. I want to talk to that guy and ask him questions and find out, like, because the older I get, as you know, as we get older and teach every day, like, I love what jiu-jitsu does for people. I love what it's done for me. And I don't want my invitational just being about the best guys in the world. I want to help take people down here and bring them up here and help them become, maybe they never become the biggest names in the world, but you know what? Their community is going to know them. Their online community is going to know them. their family's going to know what they're accomplishing. And that's my goal, is to help tell their story. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
I can
love it.
keep doing 25 matches every show though. And then I'll have a million of these stories. So I'm going to have to, there's got to be a little bit of a formula and peg who I want, to get. But I got 4 in the pipeline to film. And then I got 2 or 3 of the female matches. And most of these that I'm trying to schedule right now are the ones out of town, because there's a lot of locals that I can hit up. I could get my guys here. I could get
Yeah.
Joe Steele's guys. I can get some of my affiliates have guys. Like, those are the easy ones for me, but I don't want to be the one who's just like, what is it, like ancestral, kind of like right off the gate. I'm just building my own people,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to elevate my own people. Like, Joey Deal's not a part of my affiliation anymore, but I had him fight for the first title. I feel whether he's repping my name or not, he's still a product of me, but he's also deserves the opportunity because of what he's accomplished, and I still love Joey very much. And I wanted him and Kyle to be a part of my first show. But so, I'm just keeping things separate and just giving the people that deserve the opportunities.
And I think that's what's great about you and your story. It is very visible as I'm listening to you today, is that you are on this mission to build things. But I think underlining and the more radiating thought here is that you are on a mission to build other people, give them opportunities, allow them to step up. And it appears to me that you do everything in your power for them to be successful, regardless how much that brings back to you, which is not seen very often these days.
Yeah. And the simple formula is, like, I have a handful of matches that are not, no one local. They're not selling tickets. No one's buying a ticket to come watch them, but they're going to be impactful matches. They're matches that, like, everybody is going to enjoy. But then I have other people that are local, and I also but everyone's got the online reach. So as I've told you about that group text, like, I tell them, like, I can't do this without you guys. Like, I can get behind you, but like, if these seats don't sell and people don't tune in and watch, I'm not hiring a marketing machine to come in and do this. We have to do this with all of our own reach, with all of our own resources. And it's either that or it won't last forever, so everybody needs to get behind it. Not saying if you don't sell a ticket, you can't be on the card, but you better post your match. You better encourage your people to watch the free stream. Watching is support too. It doesn't have to be a dollar thing, but if you're local, you should be pushing and selling tickets and making sure that there's a crowd there. There's obviously that element. It's a spectator sport, which we can't be without spectators,
Well, Jeff, it's great to hear all of this. And I think, I will be looking out in the future. I'm really going to sit back and kind of see all of this unfold. That's the fascinating part about projects like this, when you see them starting from the very ground up and they continue growing and you see things getting chipped away and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's going to be very fascinating to watch all of this. You have a lot of experience and clearly a lot of passion behind this. The version 2, JCI 2, it's coming up, January? Is that right?
Yep, January 10th.
January 10th. Is the third one planned already, or we don't have a date yet?
Yeah, the third one is May 2nd.
May 2nd. So there's a couple of them coming around down the pipe. I'll make sure that all the links are in the show notes of this episode. So if you are local to Chicago area, I'm expecting you to be at one of the shows and support it, because I think this is something amazing. We need more stuff like this. This is what grows the sport. This is what grows the local community of jiu-jitsu, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't just sit back and wish it was something else. Yeah, everybody needs to contribute. Come watch. If you don't ever want to compete, I understand. a long day to sit and watch a jiu-jitsu tournament, and you don't know who's fighting who and who's who and where's what, and you're just sitting there watching matches. I promise, like, from the start of this show, it's a good time. And my live stream kicks off at 6 o'clock. My doors open at 4 o'clock, and I have a pre-show that's going to start at 5 o'clock with UFC veteran and black belt Jessica Penne. She's going to be doing some interviews and doing a little pre-show, even with Christian Reynoso, leading up to the launch of the show. So my hope is to really just talk about the rules, let people know the difference in rules at that night, let people know what to expect if they've never watched a grappling event, get the thoughts on the fighters pre-match. And then I'm hoping maybe someone like TJ DeSantis, I believe, I'm thinking he might be the perfect guy to capture a post-fight interview backstage after the match that we could put up on YouTube, and everybody can get a chance to talk about their fights and, go back down and reminisce and see, well, what did that guy think about his win? What did that guy think about getting his leg broke? Whatever the case might be. So I got a lot of cool things that I'm working on, and I'm excited about it. But, for the local jiu-jitsu community, come and show up live. Any athletes around the country, if you want to compete. I've been flying people in from, or having people come in, I should say, from Utah, out east, down south, up north, all over the place. So if you want to compete, go to JCI or jcinvitational.com and fill out the application. So I have your basic information, and feel free to, after you've done that, to hit me up on Instagram too, and press a little bit and see if I got your application. I'm overwhelmed. I got about 250 applications, and I'm on my second show. So I'm going to keep pushing and start working on the May card very shortly. I think it's May 2nd. I'm going to start putting that card together. And now that I have this, I also have do I compete on it?
And there's that puzzle. Yeah.
Maybe I need to do one match. I fought on 4 of my XFOs.
You have the itch. You got that itch. I can tell.
I fought on 4 of my XFOs, but I had partners, and I wasn't having to be the front man on everything. So it's just telling to see how this goes, whether or not I'm going to put that pressure on myself, to do that. But it's a possibility.
Well, we'll be sitting back and waiting for the one coming in January. January, and then one in May. So there's 2 right around the corner. The tickets are available. I will post links in the show notes so you guys can go get the tickets. If you are a competitor or you want to get involved, make sure you fill out the application. All that is available. Jeff, amazing things you've done in the past. Amazing things ahead. You are so busy. Do you ever take days off? Like, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I just, I take days off. I take nights off from teaching. I got good help. When I'm not feeling it, I got some energetic, very knowledgeable guys that, when they're, if they're feeling up to it, I let them take the reins, or I'll sit back and chill out in the gym. I tend to usually be here anyways, but I find my time. It's just, when you're in business for yourself, how it is. You wake up and you're working. You wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. You check your phone. I'm talking to the people in Pakistan about my gis, the lady in China about my rash guards, checking an email, realizing, oh God, I forgot to pay this bill. And it's like, now I make a note. First thing I do when I wake up is I pay the bill. And, so when you're in business for yourself, you work 24 hours a day. So whenever I have nothing going on, I tend to I'm going to just not look at my phone, or I'm going to breathe a little bit, maybe go get a little bit of a workout in, and then it's back to work.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. I think you're doing a lot of good things, and seems like more things are coming from you. So we'll be, again, waiting for all the amazing stuff too.
Well, thanks for having me back, and let me, catch up with everybody, and definitely let me talk a little bit about the Invitational, because I think that's big jiu-jitsu news. We just had Gracie Magazine and BJJ Eastern Europe both did good stories about it and are working with me on a campaign to promote it. They know that we want to bring it to a bigger audience, so they're going to get behind it, which is just huge for me, to have that and make sure it's not just known as a local regional show. We have to have the locals. We got to sell tickets. We got to have all those things. But man, I also just want the fans showing up because they heard all about this person, that comes from Florida or wherever, and they want to watch them compete. So little by little,
chipping away, one step at a time, right? Consistency, as you said a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for hanging out with me today. It's been amazing catching up with you.
And congrats again on your podcast. Still going, man. Still rolling after
still rolling
5.5 years or so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's still on it. I love it. I would not change it. And, similar to you, I'm on a mission to expose the stories. So I appreciate you being here.
Right on. Thanks, brother.
Let's wrap it up for today.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.